my time making this video. I've just been relaxing the last few days and I wasn't sure what to talk about. And so I've been watching Narcissist Chronicles. And Jesse was speaking about rumination and intrusive thoughts, which is exactly what I wanted to talk about, but it was triggered by Narcissist Chronicles. And when he mentioned intrusive thoughts, I immediately thought of Cain. And the reason why was after Cain had murdered, or before he murdered his brother Abel, he went into a field and the intrusive thoughts he was having were in relation. Actually, this is what I wanted to say. For a narcissist, their intrusive thoughts are not the thoughts about wanting to murder their brother. Those thoughts they entertain. I believe Cain entertained those thoughts, that those thoughts gave him pleasure and joy, that he was happy when those thoughts came. He felt some kind of relief and satisfaction that he would take his brother's life and get the revenge he wanted on his brother, even though his brother hadn't done anything to offend him. And so I was thinking about that and I thought, well, that must mean that his intrusive thoughts were the thoughts of his brother being kissed on the face by his mother and father, Adam and Eve, after God had accepted his offering. So Abel made an offering to God as an act of gratitude, and he put so much effort into it. He wanted to give God what was most valuable to him. He wanted to say to God, thank you, God. Thank you for loving me. Thank you, God, for my life. Thank you, God, for all of the things that are so great. I'm able to give them to you. Thank you for giving these things to me. So I am now in a position to give them to you as an offering of gratitude. And then for that kind of pure heart to find its way back to its mother, to his mother and father, and for them to celebrate with the same joy inside of themselves. That is what the intrusive thoughts were for Cain, because he was unable to have thoughts of love and joy in his heart, and to see his brother express this on a daily basis, that the very nature of his brother, we can accept that it was a nature of goodness and kindness, and evidenced by his offering to God, evidenced by his mother and father's joy. And that Cain couldn't have those feelings because he was narcissistic. He had his own blood. He had poisoned blood. He had poisoned it by accepting Satan. And so for him, and possibly for every narcissist, their intrusive thoughts are injuries they feel they've had to endure every time they experience a good person. And so I was thinking about that, and I kind of wanted to say that and to just compare intrusive thoughts with and I also wanted to show how intrusive thoughts for somebody like Cain are not like intrusive thoughts for somebody who has experienced narcissism and ruminate on the offences that had been done against them. And so intrusive thoughts and rumination, I'm getting back on track, are not the same thing. Rumination, if you're a genuine victim of narcissism, is more about replaying old injuries that had been done to you by the narcissist and having the anger that maybe you couldn't express at that time come out in you now at a later stage in your life, when you're recovering and you think back, why did they do these things? How could they do these things? What's wrong with this person? And because you are not capable of doing those things, you naturally feel angered. Excuse me. You naturally feel angered when, excuse me, you naturally feel angered when they are done to you. So rumination and intrusive thoughts are not the same thing. And an intrusive thought can be put in a good person's head also. Yeah, and maybe I'll touch on that later. There was something else I was hoping to talk about. I'm not sure if I've rehearsed it enough in my mind, but it was sacrifice. When Cain gave his offering, he took what was precious to him and gave it to God. So he sacrificed from his own resources and went without, so that God could have it, so that God could see he was capable of going without, and that it meant nothing. I would imagine that for Abel, I'm talking about Abel now. I would imagine for Abel that it cost him nothing to be kind to God. He was overjoyed with the opportunity to give his offering to God. And we know that when Cain put his offering together, he took the worst of everything he had. Well, I don't need this, I'll put that there. I don't need that, I'll put that there. And on the way to the altar, I'll pick flowers from the field and put them on it and try to make my second-rate offering look nice, like he's trying to fool God. And of course, God being present in all living beings, not beings, not like, not beings, beings. So, God he was watching his thoughts. So, So I wanted to talk about that, what sacrifice is. And I think at some point in the future, I want to talk about what sacrifice is, just in case any young people ever watch one of my videos. And the reason why I want to talk about what sacrifice is in relation to identity. In other words, whatever it is we become in life, where we have to sacrifice to have that thing, We lose a lot sometimes by choosing one road over another road. And for example, like if somebody decides to marry, well, then they're sacrificing what a single life is. And if somebody decides to be single, then they're sacrificing the joy of having a family. And that goes along with all the facets of our identity. In today's culture, young people and sexuality is very confusing. But when a young person chooses a particular path, they have to say no to every other path. And that becomes a sacrifice. And it can be a defining moment in a person's life. And it can for a short time they can have an identity that may not be their own. And so I think maybe in the future, I don't know when, I'd like to talk about that. But I just wanted to make a video because I felt like my mojo was gone the last few days. Even though I had a relaxing time, I felt like my mojo was gone, and I just wanted to talk again. So I'll leave it at that. I hope wherever you are in the world and whoever you are, that you're happy, that you had a great day, beautiful breakfast, beautiful lunch, beautiful dinner, tea, supper. And with the blessings of God, you can sleep and dream under and in His protection. God bless. Bye bye.